Ebooks are a powerful digital product to sell online because they're hugely in demand, can sell for a higher price point than other types of digital products, and don't require any extra work on your part beyond the initial creation and setup. There are sellers making $5,000, $10,000, and even $15,000 a month just by selling ebooks that they created for free. But here's the key. For an ebook to be successful, it has to be based on a topic that people find valuable or useful in some way. For example, fitness and nutrition enthusiasts would probably find an ebook about meal prepping helpful. Homeschool mom would likely be interested in purchasing a guide to homeschool philosophy. There are so many different niches that you can create an ebook for, but the first step is going to be to narrow it down and get really specific to decide on your topic. And if you're unsure, just look at what you're already good at or what you might already know a lot about. Is there something that people are always asking you how you do, or something that you're sort of known for in your circle of family and friends? That's a great place to start when deciding on what you want to create your ebook about. And if so, the next question is, are people already searching online for this? You can look on websites like Etsy, Amazon, or Pinterest to see if products come up when you type in something similar to what would describe your ebook. If there are a lot of results populating, then that's a really good sign and proof of demand that people are wanting, searching for, and needing this type of product. Then once you've decided on your topic, it's time to start creating it. So I'm about to dive into the whole creation and selling process for your first ebook. I'm going to walk you step by step through each thing you'll need to do to get going with this. But before we dive into step number one, if you are someone who's wanting to sell digital products online, wanting to earn some money from home, whether it be a side hustle or maybe wanting to do this full time, I've got a deep dive masterclass that's going to be super helpful for you. It goes through the exact 4 steps that you'll need to take to get started to grow a profitable digital products business that can scale to 100K and beyond. This is the training that I wish I had had when I first started. So I've poured all of my years of knowledge about selling digital products into this 45-minute long training class so that you can have a shortcut to actually seeing success and seeing real consistent sales in your shop. So I've got that class linked in the description box below. You can hop over, watch that completely for free when you're done watching here, and hit the ground running no matter what type of digital product you're wanting to sell. All right, so step number one when you're creating your ebook is going to be to draft your outline. I decided for this demo today, I'm going to create an ebook that's sort of like a starter guide for homeschool parents who are just starting out on their homeschool journey. So to come up with my ebook outline, I went over to ChatGPT and I gave it a little bit of context about who I am, what I want to create, and who it's for. I said, I'm a homeschool educator who wants to serve parents just starting out on their homeschooling journey. I want to write an ebook that will clearly lay out differing homeschool philosophies and methods to get started and homeschool successfully. Please give me an outline for this ebook that is clear, easy to understand, beginner friendly, and written in a relatable tone. So then ChatGPT took that prompt and generated for me exactly what I asked for. It gave me a starting outline for my ebook, and then I went back and forth with ChatGPT a couple times to refine it and make it more of what I was actually envisioning. The original outline it gave me was a little bit long. I wanted it to be a little bit shortened. So I said, this is great, but I want it to be no longer than 10 chapters. Please revise the outline to reflect only 10 chapters max, and also give me a bit more information explaining each bullet point. So then ChatGPT shortened it for me, gave me a little more context around each point. I was already pretty happy with the tone of voice that it was using, but if I hadn't been, I could have continued giving it refinement prompts like make this sound more formal, or make this sound more relatable or more casual. And once I was happy with the outline that it generated, I then copied that and pasted it into a blank Google Doc. You can use Google Docs completely for free, and it's such an easy tool to just copy and paste back and forth with ChatGPT as you're working on this. Now, the reason I pasted it into a Google Doc is because I wanted to go through and then add in some of my own thoughts and points and sort of flesh out the outline that it had given me to make it a little more robust with my own insights added in. So then I had my outline complete, and it was then time to move on to step number 2, which is to write out the actual copy. This is where you're actually writing word for word exactly what your ebook is going to say. And again, ChatGPT can be a big help for this. So I told ChatGPT, please write out the actual copy of the ebook based on this new revised outline that includes my additional insights. And then I copied my newest version of my outline from my Google Doc that had my insights added and pasted it over into ChatGPT after I gave it that prompt. I was actually pretty happy with what it wrote for me the first time around, so I went ahead and copied that and pasted it over into a brand new Google Doc. And again, refined it by adding some extra points and rewording a few things that I wanted to be said a little bit differently. So I'd come up with my outline, written the actual copy for the ebook, and there was one last step that needed to be done before bringing it over to actually make it look pretty and beautiful inside of Canva. And this step was to give my ebook a name. ChatGPT had already generated a name when I asked for the outline, but I wasn't super happy about it. It was kind of long and not not very clear. So I came back over and asked ChatGPT to give me 10 different names for this ebook. I said I want the name to be 3 to 4 words max, and it should clearly communicate what this ebook is all about. It then generated for me the list of 10 different names, all of which I thought were actually pretty good, but I loved the first one it gave me the best, which was Homeschool Made Simple, so that's what I went with. Now, of course, if I was actually going to release this ebook and sell it commercially, I would want to do a little bit of research on the name just to make sure that it wasn't copyrighted and that there wasn't another one out there with this same name. And once I felt confident about that, then I'd move on to the next step, which is to create my actual PDF design. Now, this is where you're taking the copy that you just generated and, like I said, making it beautiful, making it aesthetically pleasing. This is where you're adding visual appeal and creating the actual file that will be delivered to your buyer. There are several different design platforms that you can use for this, but one that's free and my favorite to use because it's super beginner friendly and user intuitive is Canva. So the great thing about Canva is that you don't have to have any design experience or previous knowledge. They have a huge library of templates that you can start with, so you don't have to start from scratch. You can just go to Canva and click where it says templates on the left, and that'll take you to their template library. You can then search in the template library for something that you're looking for, like ebook, and it'll bring up all these different templates you can choose from. Now, you just want to be aware that some of these templates are free content and some are premium or pro content. If it has the little crown symbol in the bottom right corner, that means it's a pro template and you'll only be able to have access to that if you are a Canva Pro user. There are lots of fun free templates that you can use and you can totally do this whole process for free on Canva. But if you're interested in upgrading and getting access to more pro features and templates, I've got a free 30-day Canva Pro trial linked in the description box below. That'll give you 30 days for free trying out Canva Pro to see if it's something you might want to incorporate into your business. Totally up to you, but just be aware of the template that you're choosing if it's a free or a pro template. For my homeschool ebook, I chose this one, which brought me into the Canva editor where I could then continue with my design process. First, I went over to my Google Doc that had my actual copy for the ebook written out, and I highlighted to copy and paste that over into the text boxes in Canva. Once I had my copy in Canva, I then continued editing things like the font, the sizing of the text, changing out elements and photos, adding pages, and making it look exactly like I wanted. Once I was happy with the ebook, I then came up into the top right corner and clicked share to download this file. Now, the first thing I did was download this as a PDF file. This is going to serve as the actual file that's my deliverable when someone purchases my listing. But I also downloaded just the first page of this project as its own JPEG file, which I'm going to use in the next step, creating my mockup. You can do this by just coming to that same download button and under file type, choosing JPG, and then under the page selection, instead of selecting all of the pages in the document, you just select the first page, which is the only one you want to download for the purpose of creating your image. Which leads us to the next step, which is to create your product listing photos. Now, of course, as digital product sellers, most likely we're using mock-up images, which help us to take something that's not a tangible physical product, but give the photo some staging, some props around it to help our potential buyers envision what it might look like if it was printed out and help to give it that visual appeal in the listing. So to create my first mock-up, I came into Canva, again to the templates library, and this time I searched for an ebook mock-up template. I chose this one and came into the editor to go ahead and alter it to make it look exactly like what I wanted to reflect my homeschool ebook. I went over to the left side where it says uploads, and I clicked to upload that title page image that I just downloaded from my other Canva project as the JPG file and drug it into the frame on the mockup so it appears as if it's now in that physical, tangible product in the mockup. Again, I formatted things by switching out the wording, the text, the fonts, the colors, and then downloaded this as its own JPG file, which I'm going to use in the next step when I actually create the product listing. Now, this is just one mockup. Of course, when you create your product listing, you'll likely have several different images that you can add to the listing. So you would repeat this process and create several different formats of mockups, ideally to have as many photos as you can on your listing. Now, once you've got your mockups created, it's time to move on to that next step, which is to list it for sale. There are several different selling platforms that you can choose to set up your online shop. You could sell an ebook like this on a marketplace like Etsy. You could set up your own full website with a host like Shopify, or you can easily and simply sell digital products with a platform like Gumroad or Payhip. I'm a big fan of Etsy, and I talk a lot about Etsy on my channel, but since this video is all about keeping it as free as possible, if you have a really limited startup budget, then I would recommend going with either Payhip or Gumroad. Both of these platforms have free plans that you can start on, time, so you don't have to pay anything up front. It makes it super quick and easy to get started even today if you wanted to. But regardless of which platform you choose, the listing creation process is likely going to include some things that are the same across the board. Number one is the title of your listing. You're going to need to input some keyword phrases that accurately describe what your ebook is all about so that people who are shopping and searching for this type of product will be able to find your listing. You can do some SEO research to figure out what keyword phrases are highly searched online and input those into your title, giving your product listing the best chance of ranking high in the search results pages. You'll also have a section where you can upload your listing images. This is where the buyer is going to actually get the visual of what this ebook looks like, what's included, and this is where we're going to bring in the mockup that we just created on Canva. So you should have already downloaded that mockup as your JPEG file. When you're creating your listing, you'll simply click on the section where you can upload listing photos and bring that mockup in. Hopefully by that time you've created several different mockups that you could bring in that are going to really make your listing a pop and give the potential buyer that peek into what it actually looks like. And you'll also have a section when you're creating your listing to upload the actual deliverable file. This is the ebook file that's going to be automatically sent to your buyer when they purchase. This is where you're going to upload that PDF deliverable file. Now, of course, when you're working through creating your product listing, you'll have several other fields that you'll need to go through, things like setting your price, adding your product description. So that may look a little bit different from platform to platform, depending on what sales channel you chose, but you'll just want to work through those different fields, putting in accurate information and getting it as filled out and completed as possible. And once you have your listing created and published, it's time to shout it from the rooftops and drive as much traffic to your listing page as possible. This is where you're going to share with your target audience. And there are many different ways you can get the word out about this. But after 10 years of running my own business online, I found the top two that have worked the best for me time and time again have been a combination of content and email marketing. The first step here is to post value-based, useful content to a content platform. This could be a social media platform like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. This could be a search engine like YouTube or Pinterest. This could even be on something like your own blog. But regardless of where it is, it needs to be niche specific. So you'll want to be creating content that appeals to the same target audience member that would likely be interested in your product. It does no good to build a huge audience of people that wouldn't even be interested in what you have to offer. So if I'm offering a homeschooling ebook, I would want to post homeschooling related content to be attracting the right type of ideal customer. I'm serving first, which means I'm giving them helpful, useful information in my content so they'll want to follow me. We'll start to build that know, like, and trust factor, and eventually I can invite them through my content to join my email list. The email list is where the actual conversions happen. Not to say people wouldn't purchase if I shared a link to my shop over social media, but research has proven time and time again that people are 6 times more likely to click on a link sent through an email than on social media. So I'm using social as sort of the initial introduction to my business, and then I'm pointing them over to join my email list through offering them a freebie. This freebie is often called a lead magnet or an opt-in. It's just something I'm offering for free to incentivize someone, to give them a little bit of a reward for opting in and subscribing to my email list. I win because I get their email on my list, and they win because they get something really valuable for free that's going to help them. Now, there are lots of different types of lead magnets out there, different types of freebies you could offer. I actually have a whole list of different lead magnet ideas in case you need some inspiration or ideas in this area. I've got that list linked in the description box below, so feel free to click over and download that list when you're done watching this video. But many of these types of lead magnets can be created easily with a tool like Canva. So going along with my homeschooling ebook, I decided if I wanted to sell this, I would need to offer a lead magnet that had to do with homeschooling. So my idea was to offer a free guide that had my top 10 homeschooling tips for beginners. So I went back over to ChatGPT to get a little help here, and I told ChatGPT, I want to create a checklist of my top 10 homeschooling tips for beginners. Please give me 10 easy to understand tips for parents who are just starting out with homeschooling. I loved the 10 tips it gave me, so I went ahead and copied those and came over to Canva to create my list. Again, I went to the template section, and this time I looked for a checklist template. I decided on this one and opened it up to edit it, copying and pasting those 10 tips over from ChatGPT into my project in Canva, and again, formatting by changing out the fonts, the sizes, the colors, the elements, and making it look exactly like I wanted it to. I also created a title page for this, which I then downloaded just like I did for my ebook. I downloaded this one as the title page in the form of a JPG. And then I went through a similar process as I did before with the ebook, but for this lead magnet, to start a new project on Canva, starting with a lead magnet template. I chose this one and then uploaded that JPG file file of the title page I just created to drag into the mockup. Once I had everything formatted and created correctly for that mockup, I downloaded that one as a JPG file because I want to use it on my landing page. Your landing page is where potential email list subscribers are going to come to submit their name and email, join your list, and then instantly get delivered that freebie that you've offered them. You can set this whole process up really easily inside your email service provider. The one I recommend if you don't have one yet is Kit. I've got a free trial link for Kit down below. You can try it out for free. You can get a landing page like this set up. And the great thing about Kit is they have templates for these types of landing pages as well. So you don't have to build this from scratch. You can simply choose one of their landing page templates, bring in your mockup for your lead magnet, change around the wording and the way you want it to look. And once you publish this, you can share the link for this landing page with anyone that you're interacting with on social media. So you can see now how people might find you on social media. And then once you offer them your lead magnet or your freebie, you'll give them the link for that landing page. And that's where they're going to hop over and input their name and email address to subscribe to your list. And you will have already set up inside your email service provider an email that automatically delivers that freebie file to them. Now they're on your list and you can communicate with your subscribers as much as you want. So you can remind people about your ebook. You could even do flash sales or discounts on it sometimes. And as you develop new products, you can be communicating with your subscribers about your new product launches. It's just an amazing way to have a direct line of communication with people who you know are already interested in what you have to offer. So there you go. That is how you create and launch your first ebook. Remember, if you are a digital product seller, whether you're wanting to sell only ebooks or maybe you're interested in other types of digital products, I've got that free masterclass, Digital Product Powerhouse, link below. You can hop over and watch that completely for free and get started off on the right foot with proven strategies to grow and scale your income selling digital products. Happy selling!